All right, starting to look like a truck again. Came in one night this week and put the front end back together and started messing around, just kind of seeing how things are going to line out in the engine here. So I've got the intake manifold just sitting in there, and one of the coil packs is still on there. And I kind of started routing the wiring harness to just see kind of how this harness would line up and everything. Everything looks pretty good. They actually have the mass air sensor on this side. So, which actually works out well because I was planning on running the intake out and down in there. So the stock, like everyone knows, goes this way. So that's nice. So everything looks good. Everything lines up. The one thing that is a little close is back here. You really can't see it. It actually works out okay with my truck, but on this PSI conversions harness, the driver's side O2 sensor wire is really short, but it actually is going to line up perfect where I have them right now. But well, if you moved them any further downstream, that wire would be too short. So the driver's side is a mile long. It's like touching the ground down there right now. One of the things I wanted to see is how much wire I had from the back of the back corner here to the end of the harness. And it looks like I have plenty. So what I originally wanted to do when I was going to make my own harness was run it down on top of the transmission and up through. I have a bolt-in high hump in this truck. Through that bolt-in high hump. This one has enough cable. I think that's going to work because I want to put the ECU under the seat just to kind of keep it out of the way because, believe it or not, there's not a whole lot of room underneath this truck, and I don't want to clutter it up with a bunch of computers because I've also got the drive-by-wire module as well that'll go underneath there, that is. Looks like that's going to work, so I am going to try to make sure that works, or, well, do that, I guess. So I'm going to pull all this back off because I'm not going to mess with this until the truck's back up on the lift here, so just easier access on the bottom. So today is going to be kind of boring day. I'm going to kind of start doing some of the piddly stuff here on my list. I got to work on my stock truck harness here. When I wired this truck, I used an American Auto Wire wiring harness. I went ahead and I ran the wire from the starter to the alternator. It goes all the way around, kind of like a stock one, but I left it separate. So there was two wire looms, if you will, that went all the way around. So I need to split those back up because that's actually going to go up and then this harness and just come to here since I've already got all the wiring on here. So I don't have any wires running across here like the stock one would be. So got to do that. Remove the speedo cable, remove the oil line, remove the throttle cable and pedal and all that. Get that all taken care of. Get the seat out so I can get the gas tank out because the Boyd's tank is supposed to be here on Monday, along with just about everything else minus the radiator. It is like 2 to 3 weeks out. I ordered another bunch of parts from Rock Auto, just little piddly stuff. It was the tiniest little order, but just like some little gaskets for all the steam vents all the way around, a new coolant sensor, just some piddly stuff. So that'll be here tomorrow, so I can get working on that. One thing I do need to get, and I've forgotten about, is the fenders here. I need to finish scraping the underliner or the sound deadener off the bottom of those things, undercoat, whatever it is. It scrapes off pretty easy, but I just need to get those done so I can get those to the powder coater, as well as the new battery bracket since it's shiny stainless steel. Anyway, I feel like I'm rambling, so I'm going to go ahead and get going on some of this stuff and see what kind of progress we can make today. All right, a couple hours later, I've got what I wanted to get done today. I'm sorry I didn't film any of it. It was just kind of tedious, boring stuff. I didn't think anybody would want to watch it. So first thing I did was I got the wiring harness stripped back. So this truck has a complete American Auto Wire harness front to back. And it was set up for a small block. So it had all of the power wires and everything went over here to the starter and the distributor. And then everything light-wise and this side of the motor went this way. Had a wire bundle that ran up here to the alternator, the coolant temp sensor. So I stripped all that out. So I stripped out the wire that goes from the alternator to the starter. I'm going to shorten it. It's actually going to go down and in with the LS harness here, so it's going to be a lot cleaner. So I don't have the wires dangling across here. Coolant temp, everything's taken care of with the LS harness. So I unwrapped everything, took all my harness wrap off, and stripped out the wires I don't need. They're still here on the bulkhead. I've got the coolant temp. I've got a brake line switch. There's a tack signal, and I don't know what the fourth one is. Off the top of my head, I'm drawing a blank here. Oh, it's the ignition or the alternator exciter wire. So everything's stripped back. I just kind of have everything laid kind of generally where it's going to go. I'm still not sure what I'm going to do with the pink wire. The pink wire on these trucks is the ignition feed wire, which runs the distributor, and I also had it running my electric choke on my carb. I was going to use it to power the switched 12-volt source for the LS ECU, mainly because it is the only switched wire in the truck that stays live during startup. Obviously, it ran the distributor, so it had to stay hot. So I don't know if I'm gonna run it out here and then run it back down in the tunnel with the rest of the harness from the engine, or I don't know what I'm gonna do. That wire is coming directly off the back of the ignition switch. These old trucks, everything was switched. There was no relay to anything except for the horn and something else. But so I may tap into it back behind a switch on the inside and run it back, because my ECU is going to sit under the seat. So I really don't know what I'm going to do yet. Part of me wants to leave it out here solely because this truck is, for some other reason, we convert it back to a small block or a big block or something like that. That wire will be there. I don't know. We'll see how that goes. That's about it outside. Can't think of anything else. Nope. All right, so inside the truck, I went ahead and took the seat out. I was going to work on getting the fuel tank out. It's got about that much fuel in it, so no risk of spilling or anything. So I just got to cut this grommet off and then kind of fish it out. It's got to go out and then up and then out. It's a pain. It's going to take 2 people. So I didn't do that. So here's the gauge cluster. You can kind of see this is part of the American Auto Wire harness here. They're real nice. They put connectors for everything. So you can just pop that out, pull it forward without trying to fish your hand up and trying to unplug the back there. In here, just kind of like say, just took the gauge cluster out. I thought I'd show the American Auto Wire harness kit here so you can kind of see parts of it here. Let me get the light down there. So there's the fuse panel. Just got an updated, just a generic GM Delphi fuse panel there. All the wiring and everything. It's a nice kit. So you can kind of see all my wires in here. I've got them all tucked up and nice. So those wires hanging right there are actually the connectors for the gauge cluster that I took out. Not going to use those, so I will actually seal those up so I don't have any wires dangling in there. This is kind of cool here. This wire, this connector here, these guys really thought of everything. This is an auxiliary connector that you can use. There's literally, you can run power seats, power windows. They have circuits built in already, and they're even labeled down here on the fuse panel. But that stuff's already wired into it. So there's a bulk or a connector that connects into there that you can break out and run to anything and everything you want to. So pretty trick. I don't know that I really ever showed the inside of the truck here. Nothing fancy. It's got a GM tilt in it, a rebuilt tilt. Bought it off of a board member who rebuilds these. So just pretty simple, plain Jane. Yeah, it's a 72. It's got the wrong door panels in it. They actually are 72 doors. Somebody has put 70, I think these are 71. I don't know, I looked at them, they're date coded, but they're sticking off pretty proud. You can tell that they're the right, they got the regulator, or the actuator and the regulator stick way out for, you can tell that they're, because the 72 doors or the door cards are thicker. So it does have it. And one other thing that everybody always questions me about, it's got, it is actually a 72. Everything is VIN'd out. It's the right cab. When the cab matches the frame, everything is right, but they've attached the rear view to the roof, which is actually not correct for 72. 72 is the first year of attaching it to the windshield. Fun fact. And everybody at a car show walks up and questions that. But so that's kind of where I'm at today. I'm going to come up one night this week and keep chugging along, and we'll continue this video then. Well, it's been about a week. I have tried to get up here, but just everything going on has been tough. So we've actually got kid number 3's on the way, so I've been getting the baby room ready and kind of doing some stuff around the house. We're slow at work, but managed to find plenty to do at work. So I did get in a little bit and do some stuff. I've got the manifold just sitting on here, and then this coil pack just sitting here. What I did actually was I put that crinkle, that VHT super crinkle or whatever they call it, wrinkle plus or whatever it's called. I did both of the valve covers with that, so that turned out pretty good. Had a couple little boo-boos in there just because, I don't know, I never can seem to get it all to work out just right. It dries at weird rates, and I follow the instructions, but the parts is visible. It's perfect. It's way back in the back next to the PCV grommet there. There's a little tiny bubble that popped up when I was heating it, cooking it in the oven. But anyway, those are done. So I just kind of wanted to see how everything looks. Some more parts came in. My radiator came in finally. So I've got it sitting in here, and the manifold's on here actually because I wanted to see how much room I have for a cold air intake. And I've actually got tons of room. I probably got 8 inches here. So I'm going to build an intake that comes out, turns 90, and then goes down into this area down in here to kind of suck cold air as best I can. I may even pop a hole in the core support, but I don't know if I'm going to cut in that or not, but we'll see. So I'm going to get some cold air from down there. I'm trying to think of anything else up here I did. I got the gas tank out of the truck. So that is out, and I kind of started piddling with the wiring. So that's up today too. My Boyd filler net came in, and this is kind of what I was thinking about doing here. Is I bought a new grommet here. I got that filler neck just sitting in there with a cap on it. So it's going to sit down flush. So it looks like something's a little awry, but it kind of keeps the look of the filler. Since the truck's already done, it's been fully restored on the outside, I don't want to go welding on that and have to repaint that. So what I did was I bought that little piece, and I'll put a picture of it up there. And what it does, see if I can get in here with the light. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to weld a flat plate to the back side of that thing to close it off, to seal it watertight anyway, and to keep it so that it can't be pulled back out. Because the way it is right now, you grab a hold of this thing, it's going to come this way. So it'll have a keeper on this side, which is the lid, and the keeper on the back side, which is the plate, and it'll sit there. It looks good. It looks like it's stock. So this is actually the stock cap from the stock type cap for my tank, which is sitting over here. So that worked out pretty good. So enough of the rambling. I'm going to get going. I'm going to start working up in the front, get that going, and then next up is the carpet. I'm going to pull the carpet, pull the hump, and start figuring out the routing for the wiring harness so I can figure out where I'm going to put all my ECMs. So that's it for now. And I guess I should have checked the camera. I had all sorts of video. I put the manifold on. I got the injectors installed and everything. Showed how I do that. And apparently I never hit record. So the manifold's on. It's torqued down. Injectors are in. These are the see that? These are the 2010 and up flex fuel injectors from the 6-liter. They're like 51 pounds, I think they are. Direct bolt in. They are an EV6 style, the car style connector. So my harness has that. I spec'd that when I ordered the harness, so it has those. But so everything went in. These heads are milled 30 thousandths. So when I went to put this manifold on, it didn't really want to sit down on there real tight. So these truck intake manifold gaskets have that there's like a little nub that sticks out on the center bolt on both sides. And it was having a hard time getting in there, but I kind of just flexed it just a little bit, and it went down. Everything drew down real tight. Everything's good to go on both sides. This is just here temporarily to kind of plug the hole so crap gets in the motor, but I'm going to kind of clean it up a little bit. It's still a little dirty. So everything out here is good to go. Everything's torqued down. Everything's tight. The motor's sealed, so nothing's going to get in it. At this point, I'm going to go ahead and start working on the inside of the truck, get the carpet out, get the hump out so that I can start working on this wiring harness and figure out how I'm going to do that. Well, after a little bit of fiddling, I got the carpet out. It was stuck in here. It was molded down, and it was just a bear to get it out, to fold over that way without taking it all the way out. Because I didn't want to take it out because it was a pain in the rump to get it in here the first time, and I don't want to do it again. So I figured if I leave it laying in on that side, it'll fold back over easier. So anyway, I got that up, got the high hump unbolted. One thing I did notice, there's a lot of guys on the C10 forums that say that this transmission will fit with a standard hump, and I don't know. This is close. I don't remember. I think it kind of ran pretty much flat up until this point right here, flat across, and there's no way. I think this spine right here, I mean, I guess you can grind that off, but I'm afraid this thing would hit the standard hump in these things. So I'm glad I had the high hump. And I think this transmission is actually sitting too far downhill, so I'm going to have to shim the back up to get the back in spec with my rear end there. But that's a problem for another day. But anyway, I got this thing opened up, got the wiring harness laid in. It is attached to the motor kind of loosely, just to kind of mock up where it's going to be. And the harness is actually perfect length for this. So my plan is I am going to cut a 2-inch hole in the back of this bolt-in hump on the passenger side, since the wiring harness comes down off the passenger's head. It comes down, so I'm going to attach it to the floor here, and then I'll pop through the hump, which is right here, actually right where that grommet is. It'll come into the cab, it'll go into the carpet, so we're going to have a bit of a hump in the carpet, but yeah, oh well, race truck, I guess. And then I think I'm going to put the ECM over here and the fuse panel over on this side, because it kind of just, a nice flow over that way. Kind of keep everything over there. It's easier to access. I'll build a little panel to hold up the fuse panel like so you can access it from that side and get in there and not have to worry about the steering wheel on the driver's side. And then the tack module for the pedal, I'm thinking I might put it down here on the floor here or up there. I'm leaning towards here because I've got two Dakota modules. I got the module that runs the gauges, and then the BIM module that interfaces with the OBD2 port for all the various sensors and everything. So I'm thinking about putting those three on the driver's side of the seat, ECM fuse block on that side of the seat, and then I've got plenty of slack on the OBD2 connector here, so I might just mount it actually pretty accessible here for tuning purposes. This also is going to run the gauges, so I've got another module here, so I may tap into this and put two OBD2 ports so that I can run the gauges and tune it simultaneously, just for ease, that we don't have to unplug the gauges when we tune it. So, but that's kind of it right now. Everything worked out great, so I need to go get a hole saw for that, poke a hole in that, and I'm gonna start kind of lining things out in here and figure out how I'm gonna get this through here and through the carpet, because we've got a pretty good hump. So the hump comes down and then flat, and then it's got this other structural brace here, so it's kind of sit up pretty high here. So I don't know what I'm gonna do. I may take some of this tape back and kind of flatten it out a little bit, see how that works. But I don't know, works pretty good. It's like this thing was made for this truck. It's just a universal one, and I'm just glad I don't have to put it underneath the dash with everything else. So it's going to have a vintage air unit eventually, and that takes up that side of the dash. So worked out pretty good. So I'm going to kind of keep chugging along. I apologize for not really videotaping anything, but I thought it was pretty boring to watch me take the carpet out and take the hump out. And so we'll kind of see what we can come up with as far as mounting brackets for all of that jazz over there. And then over here, I'm going to make I think I'm going to mount them to a plate and then mount the plate to the floor. I've also got to make a bracket here for adapting the truck pedal to this truck, so the drive-by-wire pedal, that is. So I'll have to figure something out there, but that's kind of what is going on right now. So hopefully we can have some more stuff today. If not, we'll see. I've been scratching my head here for a couple minutes, and I think I've got this figured out. The way this works out, the harness kind of actually lays out about perfect. So I'm thinking the ECU is definitely going to go here. I need to double check and make sure that there's enough height, I think there is, to mount the fuse and relay panel like this, so it's accessible from the front side here. So that lays in there real nice. And then I'm thinking I'm going to put the tack module here underneath the driver's seat, along with the BIM module and the other Dakota module, and then run the wires up to the pedal. I'm going to have to extend those wires a little bit, which is not a big deal, but I can extend those. They're actually only about a foot short, so I can extend those no problem. Take this grommet off, because in the stock truck this sits out in the engine bay, so I think that'll work. And then the only wires I think that I'm going to have to run up to the gauge cluster is just a couple lights. I think a couple wires. I think there's a wire for, well, there's actually two wires on the brake switch, I believe, that go down there, and then a couple more. So I'll have just a couple wires, 5 or 6 total, running down in a bundle here to go back to the ECM and everything like that. So a little fun fact about the PSI harness that I just figured out while looking at all the sensor connections. When you order a harness, their website asks you about oil pressure sender, and it says F-body cluster only. Well, if you deselect that because you're not in an F-body cluster, or you don't have an F-body cluster, you're putting this in something else, you don't get an oil pressure sensor wire at all. So the computer does not see oil pressure, which, it's not a big deal other than the gauge would be nice. So luckily, I got to thinking, my Dakota Digital comes with an oil pressure sending unit. So I am actually going to hook that up and wire it into the module here, so I can at least read oil pressure on my gauges. Not a big deal, but just kind of a fun little fact. I think with that, I'm going to call it a day. It's just been a lot of kind tedious work and just kind of thinking today how I want to do everything, because you know this is kind of, we're at the point now where everything I do now kind of affects everything down line. So I think I've got it all squared away, got it all figured out. So next time I am going to I'm going to get a hole saw and get the wire run through there and kind of get everything going. And I'm going to get the truck up on jack stands, and just so I can access the bottom, kind of get everything good to go here, and then I'll put it over on the lift and get it up and wire everything on the bottom, you know, secure everything. But just wanted to just take the time and kind of think this through and not rush it at this point, because like I say, this affects things downstream. So anyway, I apologize again for another boring video of me just rambling, but I'm just kind of I tend to think things over a lot, so just wanted to give it a lot of good thought and kind of figure it out. So anyway, appreciate you guys watching. Like always, like and subscribe if you'd like to. Share away. You know, let your friends and family know about these if they're interested. You know, we're starting to kind of pick up a little bit of steam here, so I do appreciate everyone for watching and subscribing. So anyway, appreciate it, and we will see you next time.